So in this video, we'll be talking about subtracting rational numbers. If I can spell subtracting right. So, when we subtract rational numbers, it's different than when we add rational numbers. But it's only different the first step. So, when we add rational numbers, you always want to remember KCC, which is keep, change, change. Keep, change, change. And then you add. So our first step is to keep, change, change. Then you add like normal. So like in the last video when we talked about adding rational numbers. So, for example, what that means, if we have 3 minus 7, we are going to KCC. Keep, change, change the sign of the second number. Then we add like normal. So these are different. So if they're different, what do? Well, we subtract the numbers, which is 7 minus 3, which is 4. Keep the sign of the bigger number, which in this case is negative 7. So our answer is negative 4. So on our number line, if we start out at 3 and we subtract 7, we get to negative 4. Alright, number 2. We have 3 minus a negative 9. So we're subtracting, so we need to keep, change, change. So keep the first one, change the sign to addition, change this second sign, which in this case would be positive. So we have the same sign, so we add, which is 3 plus 9, which gives you 12. Keep the sign, which is positive, so it stays 12. Number 3. Remember, you can pause this video at any time if I'm going too fast. We have 2/3 minus a negative 1/4. Just because it's a fraction doesn't mean we change what we do. We're still subtracting them, so we need to do KCC. Right? So just get to this step. So we keep the first one, change the sign to addition, change the sign of the second one to 1/4. Well, now we're adding fractions. Well, since we're adding fractions, their denominators need to be the same. So I need to multiply them to get them to where they are the same denominator. So we're going to do our little trick where we just multiply them by the other number. Then we have 8 over 12 plus 3 over 12. And since they're the same sign, after we add straight across, we get 11/12. We keep the sign, which in this case is positive. Number 4. We have negative 2 and 1/5 minus 4 and 1/3. So remember, we're subtracting, so we want to keep, change, change. So we want to keep the first one, change the sign, change the sign of the second one. So in this case, it'll go from being a positive to a negative 1, or negative 4 and 1/3. That's the first step. So now we need to add them together. Since they're the same sign, we want to add them. So we want to add, so they're the same sign. So we want to add 2 and 1/5 plus 4 and 1/2, or 1/3, sorry. Well, we can't add mixed numbers, so what we want to do is we want to change the mixed numbers to improper fractions. So 2 times 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11/5. And then we have 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 is 13 thirds. Well, we still can't add these because the denominators aren't the same. So we want to do our little trick. Oops, I did it wrong. That's what you want to avoid right there. Good thing I caught that, or I would be doing a lot of work for nothing. Okay, then we should get 33 over 15. So 15 is our common denominator. That's a 33 plus 13 times 5 is 65 over 15. So when we add those, we get 98 over 15. I know this is a long problem, but it's worth it. These are the problems. They make your brain stronger. So after we add them, remember they're the same, so we want to keep the sign. Well, their signs are negative. So the answer is negative 98 over 15. Well, if we were to get that back down to a mixed number, it would be 8 or 6 and 8/15. Okay, let's look at number 5 now. We're still working on subtracting rational numbers. We have 6.4, but now we got some decimals. Minus 3.205. Whoa, my thing missed out on some important parts. So we want to, like always, keep, change, change. So we want to keep 6.4. Change the subtraction to addition. Change the second sign, so it was positive 3.205. Now it's going to be negative. And since these are different, we're going to subtract them. So 3.205. And remember, when subtracting decimals, you have to line up the decimals. So 6.4. Line them up, fill your zeros in, and then subtract. What I do wrong here? I'm obviously going to do something wrong because this number can't be bigger than this number, or can't be smaller than this number. So I need to go back and I need to write those the other way. So 6.4, see, remember back to earlier when we were talking about teachers making mistakes? Minus 3.205. And then we need to fill our zeros in. Borrow from the 4, borrow from the 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 0 is 9. 3 minus 2 is 1. My decimal gets brought down. 6 minus 3 is 3. So, and since they're different, we keep the sign of the bigger number, which in this case is 6.4. So our answer stays positive. Number 6, we have another decimal. We have negative 8.51 minus a negative 2.7. So same thing as before. We want to keep, change, change. So keep, my K's are not writing on here very well. Change, change. So we're going to keep the first one. We're going to change the sign to addition, change the sign of the second one, which will be in this case now a positive number. And then we're going to add like we normally do. Well, these signs are different, which means we're going to subtract them. So 8.51 minus 2.7. Line up your decimals. Add in your zeros where necessary. 1 minus 0 is 1. Gotta borrow from the 8. 15 minus 7 is 8. Your decimal gets brought down. 7 minus 2 is 5. And then keep the sign of the bigger number, which in this case is that negative. So it's negative 5.81. Then our word problem, number 7. I want that one to be black. So number 7, we have the length of Casey's garden is a 4.458. Keep saying that wrong. 4 5/8. Okay. Determine the width of Casey's garden if it is 2 7/8 feet shorter than the length. So that shorter means that it's the smaller than. So we are actually subtracting that 2 7/8 from 4 5/8. So since we're subtracting, we're going to keep change. So we're going to keep the first one. We're going to change that subtraction sign to addition, and then change the sign of the second one. Then we are going to add like normal. Well, we have, there's a couple different ways you can add. I'm going to teach y'all to go ahead and convert it to a mixed number, from a mixed number to improper fraction. So we have 45 over 8. Sorry, I don't know where I got 45 from. I meant 4 times 8 plus 5. So 4 times 8 is 32, plus 5 is 37 over 8, plus 2 times 8, which is 16 plus 7 is 23, over 8. Okay? Since they're different signs, we need to subtract them. So when you subtract fractions, you subtract straight across the top. So 37 minus 23 is 14. So it's 14 over 8. And then, so after we do that, we can convert that back to a improper fraction, which is 1 6/8, which is also 1 3/4. And so this 1 3/4, since the signs were different, we subtracted them, and we need to keep the sign of the bigger number. In this case, the bigger number is this positive 4 5/8. So our 1 3/4 is going to stay positive.